Does technology intimidate you? Do you feel like you don't understand it at all? Stay tuned, I'm going to help you out. Hi, I'm Lisa Marie. Welcome to my channel, Living My Best Life Over 50, Your Best Life Any Age. We're going to talk about how you can be relevant at any age. Let's get right into today's video. Technology. I'm going to go back in time a little and then all the way to the present. It's going to be a series, so you're going to want to hit the notification bell and the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Here we go. The first era we're going to talk about is the 1940s. For some of you, that's the decade you were born. For others, that seems like a long time ago. Maybe your parents were born or your grandparents. The 1940s are known as the war era, and that's because of World War II. One of the things that was developed that year was the Jeep. That's when it first came about. The military needed a really rough and tough kind of a vehicle to work in the war. Would you believe that the color TV was developed back in the 40s? We didn't really see it till later because it was way too expensive, but something we take for granted all the time. Another thing, aerosol spray cans. Now we're trying to ban those because of the environment, but back in the 40s, that was created. Scuba diving was invented back in the 40s. Here's some fun stuff. The Slinky and Silly Putty was invented in the 1940s. Thank God, what would we have done as children without it? The atomic bomb came about in 1945, and we all know how that happened, what happened with Hiroshima, etc. So I'm not going to say I think that was a great invention because a lot of people died as a result. Now here's something we could not live without, the microwave. Now this isn't the oven yet, this is just the whole concept of microwaves, and then later they figured out all the different things they could actually do with it. But that was quite an advance in technology in the 40s if you think about it. Transistors is another thing that came about in the 40s. You know, think about transistor radios, how people communicated back then, and this one's kind of funny. Velcro. I mean, we use Velcro for all kinds of things, and it was actually developed in the 1940s. Moving on to the 1950s, and this was considered the era or the age of comfort. People were starting to create things that made our lives more comfortable. So thank you 50s for that. I wasn't quite born yet. Super glue is one of the things that was created in the 1950s. I don't know what I would do without super glue. We use it for so many things. Some of you cannot live without this, and that is diet soda or pop or Coke, whatever you call it, depending on where you're from. I guess prior to this, it was just regular non-diet soda. Here's a fun one, and I played with this as a kid, Mr. Potato Head. Now we all know who Mr. Potato is. We see it in the Toy Story movies and so forth. And there even later came a Mrs. Potato Head. Another bomb, the hydrogen bomb, was created in the 1950s. Very dangerous. Not too fond of that one. Oh, now here's an important one. To control the population, the birth control pills came about in the 1950s. I don't think they got perfected until the 1960s, or maybe even later, really. Everybody's favorite unhealthy food, McDonald's. How exciting is that? We didn't even know that there was such a thing as fast food until the 1950s. Now, most of us did not have computers. In fact, I don't think any of us did in the 50s, but the hard drive was invented in the 1950s. So there was a computer somewhere that somebody was using that they could store things on a hard drive. We just didn't know about it yet. Laser. We use laser for a lot of things now, but it was actually invented in the 1950s. Modems. Modems are things that help us communicate with one another. When you have your internet now, or when you get your cable TV, which we weren't getting any of these things in the 50s, but the modem was actually created. It was probably being used for military or government at the time until it was figured out what else we could do with it. This is a really important one. The pacemaker was created in the 50s. What a valuable tool. There are so many people that are still alive today because of the pacemaker. Integrated circuits and microchips were actually developed, created in the 1950s. It sounds like a lot of really cool things happened. So if anyone tells you, and you're from the 50s, that you aren't relevant, just remind them of all the things that were created in the era that you were born, the era of comfort. 1960s were considered the age of technology. I was born in 1961, so I knew a lot of things happened in the 60s because I got to live through most of it. But one of the big things is the cassette. So think about cassette tapes. We had 8 tracks, and now we have cassettes, more compact, easier to take with you than those stupid 8 tracks, which were really clunky and big. And if you have any, you really need to just get rid of those things. Just say no. United States joined the space war with Russia and other countries. Who's going to get to the moon first? Who's going to orbit the Earth? And we all know what happened there in the 60s. But that was the decade of space war, where NASA was really pushing forward. A lot of exciting things are happening. This might be important for several of you, but Valium was created in the 60s. So if you just needed to chill out, I guess there was a lot of stress, a lot of things moving going on. The world was changing. So maybe some people just started to get really stressed. I'm guessing this is the beginning of too much stimulus and too much stress as technology moved on. So medicine had to keep up and come up with some drugs to help us stay a little more chill. Acrylic paint was created in the 60s. Before, it was probably just like lead-based paint, I'm sure. Contact lenses were created in the 60s, and thank God for that. I wear glasses, and I used to wear contacts. It's kind of clunky wearing your glasses all the time. This one, I think we should all stop and take a moment and say thank you for inventing this, the calculator, because I don't know about you, but I can't hold numbers in my head very well. I can remember names and all kinds of things, but when it comes to numbers, I need my calculator. How about you? Do you need your calculator? Let me know in the comments below if you're like me and you can't hold math in your head. The ATM was created in the 60s, where you could go get money without going into an open bank. Another thing that was created in the 60s was the barcode scanner. I don't know that we were using it actively, but it was being used probably behind the scenes until they could figure out a cheaper way to produce it so other people can use it. If you like this video, stay tuned for the next one in the series coming. You're going to want to hear the rest as we move toward the current day. Thanks so much for visiting my channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Living your best life and living my best life.